An interesting tradition exists in certain American states and other countries where capital punishment is legal, known as the last meal for those on death row. This allows convicted felons to choose any food and drink they desire within certain regulations on the eve of their execution. Here are some of the most peculiar meals that have been recorded. One of them involves Victor Harry Feger, who in 1963 was sentenced to death by hanging for his involvement in kidnapping murder case. For his final meal, the 28-year-old requested only a single olive with a pit left in. After his execution, the olive pit was discovered in Feger's suit pocket, leading to many that he wanted to be buried with it, so that an olive tree, a symbol of peace, would grow from his grave. For a dangerous criminal, it is almost a sentimental gesture. Gerald Lee Mitchell, the 19th convict on our list, had a different preference for his final meal than Victor Harry Feger. Mitchell's last meal was much sweeter, quite literally, while waiting for his execution on death row. Mitchell had only one desire for his final meal, a bag of assorted Jolly Ranchers candy. He consumed the entire bag before facing his ultimate fate, suggesting that he intended to experience a sugar high as he departed from this world. Lawrence Russell Brewer, a convicted murderer and white supremacist, made the most of his opportunity to select his final meal before his execution in 2011. He requested an extensive feast that included 2 fried chicken steaks with gravy and onion, a triple bacon cheeseburger, a cheese omelette with ground beef, tomatoes, onions, bell peppers, and jalapenos, 3 fajitas, a meat feast pizza, a bowl of fried okra, a pound of barbecue meat with half loaf of white bread, peanut butter fudge with crushed peanuts, a pint of Bluebell ice cream, and 3 root beers. However, Brewer did not eat anything when the order arrived and claimed that he was not hungry, which was seen as final insult to the justice system. These led to Texas Senator John Whitmer banning last meal requests in the state, which future death row prisoners will no longer be able to enjoy, and Brewer is to be blamed for this change. John Wayne Gacy, also known as the Killer Clown Pogo, was a notorious serial killer who took advantage of his last meal request. He ordered a meal that included 12 fried shrimp, a bucket of original KFC recipe, French fries, and a pound of strawberries. Gacy had previously managed 3 KFC restaurants in his hometown of Waterloo, including that he never grew tired of finger-licking goodness of KFC even after his conviction. John Spankelink. John Spankelink, who was known for his heavy drinking, did not prioritize food in his last meal request. Instead, he asked for a flask of Jack Daniels, which he shared with a prison superintendent. This led to a revision of Florida's last meal provision to exclude alcohol altogether. However, some might argue that going out while drunk may not be such a bad idea after all. Eileen Womas made a different kind of request for her last meal in 2002. She asked for a single cup of black coffee, while it may seem like she just wanted her morning coffee before being executed. Her motivations were actually much crazier. She did not believe that she was going to be gone for long, and her last words were, "I'd just like to say I'm sailing with a rock and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus." June 6. It's safe to say that she has not returned yet. Number 14 on the list is Ricky Ray Rector, who had a similar approach to his last meal request. Rector had ordered a delicious-sounding meal including steak, fried chicken, cherry Kool-Aid, and a slice of pecan pie. However, he didn't eat his dessert, claiming he was saving it for later. It's unclear whether he was intended as a morbid joke or a genuine belief that he would return after death. Timothy McVeigh, the perpetrators of a heinous crime that resulted in the deaths of 168 innocent people, made a surprising request for his last meal in 2001. He opted for 2 pints of mint chocolate ice cream, though it's uncertain whether he consumed both or if one had melted. Some may argue that providing such a request to someone responsible for such a tragedy was too generous. David Leon Woods, a convicted murderer, spent over 2 decades on death row before his execution in 2007 in Michigan, Indiana. His last meal request was a simple one, consisting of a regular pizza and a whole birthday cake which he shared with his family. It is worth noting that his birthday was 3 months after his execution, but in such circumstances, any indulgence may have been welcome. Thomas J. Grace's final meal request before his execution in 1995 was quite extravagant, reflecting his questionable life choices. He ordered 2 dozen steamed clams, half a dozen barbecue ribs, a Burger King double cheeseburger, 2 strawberry milkshakes, and even a can of SpaghettiOs to be served at room temperature. However, his meal didn't arrive as he ordered it, and he was served spaghetti and meatballs instead, which he was not pleased about. In his last words, he expressed his disappointment by saying, "I did not get my SpaghettiOs, I got spaghetti. I want the press to notice." Stephen Wayne Anderson, a dangerous criminal, had an unconventional selection of food for his last meal in 2002. Before his execution in California, the 48-year-old asked for 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, a pint of cottage cheese, a hominy corn mixture, peach pie and chocolate chip ice cream, and a sizable portion of radishes on the side. Peter J. Miniel, a convicted killer, made a huge order before his execution in 2004, which could rival Lawrence Russell Brewer's order for his biggest meal on death row. Despite confessing to his crimes and accepting the penalty, Miniel chose to indulge himself before his final moments. He requested an extensive menu including 20 beef tacos and enchiladas, 2 double cheeseburgers, a jalapeno pizza, fried chicken, spaghetti with salt, and a dessert consisting of half chocolate cake, half vanilla cake, cookies and cream ice cream, caramel pecan fudge ice cream, and a small fruit cake. To quench his thirst, he also ordered 2 servings of Coke, Pepsi, root beer, and orange juice. It is possible that he wanted to go out with a bang, much like Henry VIII. Velma Barfield, the infamous death row granny, was executed by lethal injection in 1982, making her the first woman to be put to death in the US in 22 years. Before her execution, Barfield was granted one last meal, and while you might expect a cup of tea or a slice of coffee cake from a sweet, God-fearing grandmother, Barfield had a unique request. She simply wanted a packet of cheese doodles and a can of Coke. However, considering that Barfield was a convicted murderer responsible for the death of 6 people, her food choices were perhaps not that surprising. When facing the grim reality of death row, some inmates opt for quantity over quality in their last meal. Robert Alton Harris, a convicted murderer who was executed in 1992, certainly didn't hold back when making his final meal request. He ordered a KFC 21-piece bucket, 2 large Domino's pizza, a 6-pack of Pepsi, ice cream, jelly beans, and a packet of Camel cigarettes. However, it was his final words that remained particularly memorable. "You can be a king or a street sweeper, but everybody dances with the Grim Reaper." It's an eerily prophetic statement coming from someone who lived a life of crime. Ronnie Lee Gardner, the death row inmate at number 6, was one of the few opts for a relatively small meal, but with an unusual request to prolong the experience. He ordered a steak, a lobster tail, apple pie with vanilla ice cream, and a 7-Up. In addition, he asked to watch the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy while eating. And to everyone's surprise, he was granted this request. The total runtime of the movie is over 11 hours, making this one of the longest last meal ever recorded. Philip Workman's final meal request was a selfless one, as he didn't want to indulge in gluttony, but instead asked for a large vegetarian pizza to be given to a homeless person. Unfortunately, the prison officials didn't grant his request, and Workman did not eat anything. However, on the day of his execution, homeless shelters in Tennessee were flooded with vegetarian pizzas from people across the country, fulfilling Workman's wish to help the less fortunate. Angel Nieves Diaz, rank 4 in the list, made a conscious choice to reject his last meal. He didn't request anything special and was served a regular prison meal of shredded turkey with taco seasoning, cheese rice, pinto beans, tortilla shells, apple crisp, and ice cream on a Wednesday. However, Diaz declined to eat his meal and in his last word denounced the death penalty as a form of vengeance and a cowardly act by humans. Oba Chandler, the death row inmate, opted for a peculiar combination of food items for his final meal. He requested 2 salami sandwiches on white bread, spread with mustard and peanut butter, and a grape jelly sandwich on white bread as well. To wash it all down, he chose iced tea and coffee. Given the amount of bread involved, one could say that he went out with a crusty finale. By the way, a link to a shirt with more cringe-worthy puns is available on screen and in the description in case you want to subject others to them. Robert Dale Conklin's final meal request showcased his luxurious preference as he opted for high-end dishes such as filet mignon wrapped in bacon and deveined shrimp sauteed in garlic butter with lemon. He also requested sides such as baked potato with sour cream, chives and real bacon bits, corn on the cob, and asparagus with hollandaise sauce. Additionally, he wanted French bread with butter, goat cheese, and cantaloupe, and finished off with a dessert of vanilla bean ice cream and iced tea. James Edward Smith, a convicted criminal, made a peculiar final meal request in 1990. Instead of a traditional meal, he asked for a lump of soil. Some have speculated that he intended to eat the dirt, while others believe that he planned to use it in a voodoo ritual, as he specified the soil to be a recondo type associated with witchcraft. However, the prison denied his request, as dirt was not on the list of permitted foods, and he was served a cup of yogurt instead. What meal would you choose in such situation? Which of these last meal requests intrigue you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching.